outward from that internal pressure building.
I ain't seen y'all on the grid, man. I haven't talked to y'all in a minute. Miss y'all. Um, but I was just thinking about something like something that I've never really ever shared with y'all about me. Something personal about me. Something I've never talked about. I don't really talk about with anybody for real. And I got a little bit of time, so I ain't gonna try and stretch this too long. But basically, make a long story short, I used to work for the disposal business, meaning, in a sense, I work for the disposal business, meaning I used to transport dead bodies. Dead bodies. You heard that right. I transported dead bodies. So, and let me explain the situation. I had a choice, and people tried to tell me. Let me just tell you, I was in jail, okay, and it was part of a work detail program that they had there, and so I was already an intake porter, you know. I was already on the porter floor, and there was these two guys. They called them dead run porters. That's what they called them, dead runs. But they called the guys that did it dead run porters. Okay, porters. But they called them dead runs. So it's really the transport business. You know, if you were to do it professionally, it'd be called the transport business. You're in the disposal business, meaning you move dead bodies and you take them to the morgue or whatever. Like you might get called to a crime scene, you know, or you might get called to where, you know, just whatever. Somebody killed themselves, a homicide, a suicide, or just a regular death from the hospital, too. We've got bodies from the hospital. I didn't know this, but UC has its own fucking morgue in the basement. I didn't know that. They had their own morgue. And they had their own little fridges in the basement. Where as soon as people died, they put them right in them fridges, man, on a gurney. And they had their own little wall of fridges. So anyway, I ended up, well, when I was uh, an intake porter, there everybody was telling me like, man, would you do this? I was like, I don't know, man. You know, probably, because I heard they got the smoke for free, get cigarettes for free. The corners would even buy them cigarettes. You know, corners would buy them cigarettes. You're in jail. You know, you do anything for a pack of cigarettes, but they also paid you $18 a week. They gave you $18 in commissary a week. Okay, and that's jailhouse rich for real. And I already had a hustle as an intake porter. And two of the guys that was doing the dead runs, it wasn't me yet, but they were both getting ready to go home. And nobody else was stepping up to do it. And just one day they were like, Joe, you want to do a dead run? And I was just like, fuck it. And I did it. And then it was after the races. After it was off to the races. After that, I became the dead run porter. That's how it was given to me. It was more or less just given to me. I was there at the right time, you know. But yeah, they just like they said, it's not for everybody. It's not something that everybody can do. Trust me, because you got decomps. You know, these are bodies go through phases when they die. They go through rigor mortis, and then uh, they in other phases where the bacteria in your body it goes rampant because there's no circulatory system no more. There's no antibodies and there's no white blood cells to fight all that. You're dead. You know what I'm saying? So your body just starts digesting itself and it starts to decompose and you like swell up and yeah, bodies can rupture. They don't explode like on Hollywood and all that crap, but they, or like a whale. But yeah, they can pop and the guts can fall out. This is gross. Sorry, I should have did like a disclaimer. This is gross, okay? I'll make sure I put that in front of the video or not. I may not. I might just let you walk into this because that's what happened to me. I got walked into it. I was asked about it, but I never made a decision. But it was too late. They already got let go. At first it was one guy, and then the other guy like the next day. So like they both went home. And I was still facing like 6 months, so I'll tell you what, I did. That's my reminder. I gotta pick up my old lady here in a minute. But so I got a few more minutes. But it was off to the races after that because I was getting free cigarettes. I was getting paid $18 a week in commissary, and you could trade that off for whatever. Because of where I worked in the prison, along with the staff, I was able to get cigarettes in too. Not just cigarettes. There was, you would be surprised. Anyway, I ain't gonna say no more than that because I don't want to potentially, I was with somebody that did incriminate themselves. I'll put it that way. Somebody decided to remove some prescription medications from a site, from I guess a homicide or just somebody that died. I'm not sure what the case was, but there was a lot of bottles of pills everywhere. And I'm looking at him like, you idiot, what the fuck are you doing? They mark all that shit. They know what's there and what's not. Like, what are you doing moving it? He took a whole bottle of fucking Oxycontin. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? So I'm not gonna it's just so fucking dumb. Anyway, he didn't last long anyway, but the point is, I picked up probably somewhere around like 48 bodies. And the reason why I stopped was because of the decompositions. Decoms, we called them decoms. Or we called them floaters, bloaters, sliders, crashes and burns. We had names for all of them based off of the way they died or how they looked or whatever. Creepy crawly, we've had, I had one time it was a black man, and I guess it was an older black man. Not like elderly, but older. And I guess he was cold or something, not sure. It looked like he took too many of his medications and he got cold or something. He turned his heat. This is in the middle of summer. And he turned his heat way up, man. And he died with his face down. And, nobody was there to do, welfare checks on him on a daily basis or anything. So it took, weeks before people realized there was a smell and they found him. So this dude was a total decom. The thing is, he died face down with his face on the ground, and I guess he because of over time he purged, and basically his digestive fluid it fucked his face up, man. It was all flat. There was skin missing when we called him a slider because you could literally slide dude right in the bag. His skin was just sliding off. I mean, it was just sloughing off. It wasn't sliding off. Became real thin, it seemed like, and it just slid off. And all that's under it is just, it's just muscle, and even the muscle was decomposing too, but so it was just muscle and fat cell, and the skin got real thin for some reason. I didn't know that. I didn't know that the skin got thin, but I found out real quick. Anyway, there are smells. I think it's sulfur hydroxide. And that's the thing that makes the rotten egg smell. But I also believe that not only do you smell a man, you can taste it in the air. You can taste them. And people besides like carry-on or something like that, or roadkill, like in the hot sun, people have like a fishy, eggy, rotten egg smell. It's hard to explain, and so it's like I heard somebody else say, it's one of them smells where it changes you forever. You'll never forget it. It changes who you are. It changes everything. Once you smell that just changes everything. It changes your whole perception of life, death, your decisions, everything. So it's one of them smells. You will not forget it. It is trifling. You can taste it too. Like I said, we did Vicks Vapor Rub, all that stuff. We put it don't help, because then it's like you're just chewing on fucking shitty pine saw in the air, shitty pine needles. Oh yay, let's mix it with. Oh, I'd rather just hold my breath or wear a mask with the shit. I'd wear a mask with it. You know what I'm saying? With the Vicks, that way you ain't breathing it. But I'm talking about one of them heavy duty masks. Anyway, dude when we were putting him in the bag, you could literally, because he was stiff too, I guess rigor mortis and decomposed all at once. Like, I guess because it was already summer and the heat was all the way up to 90, so like this dude was baking in his own apartment, man. It just happened so quick, I guess. I don't know, but I just remember, like, I had his legs, and while skin was sloughing off, and it like laid over my glove. Yeah, I had gloves and like a plastic type of uniform on. It's like a plastic jumpsuit. It's like a hazmat suit, really. And you put gloves on, rubber bands or tape, whatever. But you can still feel the wetness of it, even through the glove, I even know what brains feels like, and I don't. That's a story for another time. If anybody's interested in this topic, leave it down in the comments, and I'll tell you more stories about this particular topic right here. But yeah, I did it, man. I picked up about 48 bodies, bro, and transported 48 bodies. We also had some paranormal experiences, high strangeness events that the officers, me, other witnesses couldn't explain, and then stories from other, officers that did it. There was always an officer with us. I got a good story about the gentleman that, usually when somebody dies, they don't want to see the whole process of their body, of their loved one being bagged and tagged and carried away on a stretcher. They don't want to see that part usually. Usually the family has walked away for that, right? But this woman allegedly shot herself. Allegedly, right? Shot herself over the weekend, and she survived all the way till that Monday, Monday, and then died. So there was a stack of statistics, vital statistics on her like this, that I had to take with her body to bring it to the coroner, because she survived the whole weekend with a bullet in her head. But that's another thing. It's like they ruled it a suicide at first, and there was already a red flag because the bullet hole, the entrance wound, was back here. Usually, when somebody shoots themselves, like, tries to kill themselves via shotgun or any kind of gun, rifle in this case, or a handgun, I don't actually remember. But either way, when somebody tries to off themselves, like unalive themselves with a, let's just say a handgun, they usually do it this way, this way, and that's usually three ways. They don't hold themselves hostage like this. So that was the first red flag, right? But none of us thought of anything of it. And then, remember what I said, how usually families don't want you to be around to witness all that. Well, he wanted to stay and watch his wife get bagged up. And so, we're bagging her up, and me and my partner, that was on the other side. He was another inmate at the time. There was an officer with us too, but the husband decided to stay in the room with us while we were bagging her up. And this woman was a little heavy, which has nothing to do with the topic, except for the fact that the husband brought it up and said, because see, when somebody's heavier, you have to put them in the bag differently. Like, you can't just lift them up and put them in the bag. You gotta roll them one way, put the bag tuck the bag under them, and then roll them the other way, and then roll the bag around them, right? You can't just lift them up, put them in a bag like smaller people. And while we were doing this, my partner's facing me on the other side of the bed, basically, before we got her on the gurney. And he was trying to get back around her, but the guy is behind him, and they're both facing me. And the guy says, "Yeah, she is a little heavy, ain't she?" And I'm doing my best not to laugh, and I tried not to smile or laugh, and I didn't say nothing out of my face. I tried to hide it on my face as best I could. I don't know if I was as good as I thought I was. I probably did laugh a little bit, but the thing is, it's not funny, and I'll tell you, we'll get to why here in a second. But my buddy on the other side of the bed, he was dying, dude. Like, he's like, I'm like, no, don't. That's his, that's his family. Like, don't, dude. Can't laugh about that. Maybe he didn't mean it that way, I thought, Because, what do you say? And I said, you're going to... Anyway, so that's another thing. As a coroner, you kind of get used to, as working around coroners, you get used to corny jokes and inappropriate jokes sometimes that are not at the right time or awkward or whatever. You get used to that kind of stuff because you have to keep your humor doing that. But I can see how people that have been in that field so long can overlook things sometimes because of that that darker sense of humor. Anyway, the guy. So we finally got her on the gurney, and we get her inside the truck. And me and my buddy jump inside the truck while the officer and the husband, are still talking outside the truck. We lit a cigarette up, and we're laughing our asses off, joking about it. Like, did you hear what he said? Oh my God, talking about goddamn, yeah. It's like, wait a minute, that's kind of weird, because wouldn't that indicate he had to move her or something? Like, he's not supposed to move her, like, I don't know. It just seemed odd to say about somebody that allegedly killed themselves, right? Or attempted to kill, and then successfully killed themselves. Anyway, the point is, afterwards, the officer got back in the car, and he goes, and we started joking about it too with the officer, and he was laughing too, and he goes, "You know what else is fucked up though?" He said, the guy that was there, he said not only did he say that, but he said he kept coming up with like bullshit conversation with him, like he was just trying to like save face for some reason with the officer. And it's just a normal officer. He wasn't an investigator, but red flags went up with him too because he said he knew a coroner or something that had been dead, that worked at the coroner's office that had been dead for like 4 fucking years. And he said it was his best friend. It was just odd to say, like, it's your best friend, like, and you didn't know he was dead. You know, it was just kind of a weird thing to say. So, like, from what I understand, you know, municipalities, the way they look at things is when there's any inconsistency in any of your story, you automatically become suspect. You automatically become suspect. You know, so when you're telling the truth, you better make sure you're very clear about it and you repeat it and repeat it. Don't change it, because if you change it, if you change, even if it is your truth, if you change what you're saying, just know your rights. Anyway, I'm gonna leave y'all with that. Like I said, leave it in the comments, man, if you want to hear some more topics about this, because I got stories for days, man. But again, the reason why I stopped is because of decomps. But I got up to 48 bodies. The last one was a decomp. I said I can't do it no more. But I had everything: shootings, stabbings, hangings, infants. That's one of the hardest parts. I think actually that and a decomp is what had done it for me. It was the kids. I couldn't take it no more. I couldn't take it no more. So, like, subscribe, not a bribe. Just want to let you know I haven't forgot about you. You know, just want to share that with y'all. All right, y'all. Leave a comment, man, if you want to hear some more about this.